you. Would it be okay if I just send you maybe a text message or an email once in a while with information, just free
Right.
information, and then you can do your own research. And when your timing is right, at least you'll have my contact info. Would that be all right? And so I always ask for the permission. You're a songwriter, and
Yeah.
your thing was playing music and writing lyrics. You can actually use that skill today to get solar clients to figure out what I can do differently than maybe the other solar companies would to help them.
So, hey everyone, this is Sumit from socialheat.solar, and today we have Matt from Power, and he's an amazing person, as you can see, with a really cool background, and he's just an amazing person, and we're gonna really deep down to the understanding of the show solar and what his particular thoughts are regarding solar and how he can put some more values to you guys and for me as well. So, hey Matt, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you inviting me. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, all right, Matt, can you just walk my viewers that how your day-to-day life look like and how did you get into solar? How long you have been doing this? Where did you start it for the solar?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. So I got in solar when I was in 2001. So basically, I had just graduated high school. I had a different couple things going on for myself as far as I was into music. I was into sports at the time.
Right.
And there was a good chance when I was growing up, in my mind, I was thinking my future was probably going to either be in music or in sports, one of those two
Okay,
things. But it didn't
okay.
work out like that, right? I think a lot
Yeah,
of people had those
absolutely,
dreams when
absolutely.
they were, yeah,
Yeah,
everyone had those dreams when they were in high school. I'm
right,
going to be
right,
rich
right.
and famous. But when I was 18 years old, I was neither rich nor famous. And I also
Yeah.
wasn't like on my way to college. And I pray, I wasn't
Oh,
one of those people who was going to end up with a master's degree or a bachelor's degree. For
right, right.
whatever reason, that just wasn't going to be my path. So here I was at 18 years old. I had talents, I had dreams, and I had goals, but
Right.
I had really no path or no way to get there. And I was going to a church at the time, and a friend of mine at the church, he was running a construction business, and he focused mostly on roofing. But here it
Yeah.
was in 2001, and solar was just becoming a thing that was,
Right,
becoming mainstream for homeowners. And this
right.
roofer wanted to get into solar, and he saw this little 18-year-old kid going to his church that needed a
Yeah,
job and was willing to do a
yeah,
little bit of work and
absolutely.
wanted a career. And he invited me to come on to his business and start trying to learn the solar industry. So I basically came on and just started knocking doors, trying to get this gentleman some business. And I slowly got my feet into the solar industry. His company didn't last for very long, and I immediately got in with a company who was a big company. They were a solar focused company, and I got a lot of training. I started off as a canvasser, just a guy knocking doors, and learned the industry literally from ground zero. One thing that shocked me, and I'll be honest, I got into solar for
Absolutely.
three reasons. One reason I got into solar was because I wanted to change the world in a good way. I wanted to go green.
Right.
And I saw that the earth was headed in a direction that I was hoping it wasn't going to head in for my grandkids and my great grandkids.
Yeah,
So I felt like I
yeah,
needed to
absolutely.
do something to, play my part in making the world a better place. But I also saw that people were spending more money than they wanted to or needed to on their electricity. And electricity wasn't the only bill that kept going up. And I was 18 years old, and I just realized that, man, this world around me, everything every day is getting more and more expensive. And
Expensive.
it's getting
Yeah.
harder to just pay your bills and just be a normal
Right.
guy supporting your family, or a normal family at home being able to pay all the bills. It's getting tough to do all these things. So I saw that you could save people money with solar. There was even
Absolutely.
back in 2001, when it was a little less mainstream and a little bit harder to do, you could still save people money with solar. And so the idea that I could make the world a better place and save people a couple dollars and make a family better off was a great thing. But I also was told that, hey, you can make a good income for your household. You, as a solar salesperson or as someone in the
Right.
solar industry, there's an opportunity to make an income for your family there. But what amazed me was in the training, here I was, an 18-year-old kid who really didn't have much skills at all. They were basically trying to train me within a couple hours to do a job that was really needing like certifications and 6 months to a year of really learning the industry and really
Right.
learning the
Right.
engineering part of
Right.
this industry
Right.
before you go out and start selling deals. So I had
Right.
very minimal training, and I was out in households making promises to people about 20, 30, $40,000 systems that I wanted to install on their house. And I'm not an engineer, and I didn't
Yeah.
feel like I had enough training to really be
Right.
offering folks what I was offering. And our margins in the solar industry, even back in 2001, were just tremendous for,
Yeah.
say 5 to 10 hours worth of work on my part. My bosses and my managers were promising me thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of commissions. And even though the solar industry was having such a high profit margin, we were able
Right.
to save customers money. And that was the
Right.
weird paradox of this industry for me to get used to, is that as a solar salesperson, a huge part of this job is integrity. It has to be. And most solar sales companies and salespeople don't come into this industry with that in mind, that I want to
Right.
be
Right.
a
Right.
salesperson who's going to operate. Most people come into this industry saying, I want to be a millionaire in 5 years. I
Yeah.
want to get
Absolutely.
rich. I want
Absolutely.
easy money. And I came into this industry thinking, you know what? I can make a great living and help people along the way. Really, really help people and change their
Right.
lives by saving them thousands of dollars on their electric bill. But every single time I would sell a deal for what I consider to be the right fair price, you
Right.
would take that deal to your managers, and it's just not the way it was almost like throwing pearls to the swine, so to speak. Here I am doing something good, but I'm
Right.
taking it and I'm showing these managers who are saying, no, you need to gouge these customers. You need to make more money. There's a more profit margin here. You can still save these customers money and charge them more. And
More.
I
Yeah.
kept
Absolutely.
wondering, why are we doing that? We can make enough money. We can be fair. There's
Yeah.
enough of a margin here where we can make money for our families, yes, but we can also be better to the customer.
Right.
We don't have to try to make ourselves millionaires in a year. That's not a
Right.
typical way of living life in America. To be able to, in my mind, when you're 18, 19, 20 years old,
Yeah.
you should
Absolutely.
earn your way
Right.
into, seven-figure income if that's where
Yeah.
you're headed.
Absolutely.
And,
Yeah.
and so
Absolutely.
I felt like there was just something a little bit weird or a little bit wrong with going out there and trying to make that much money that quickly by gouging customers. And so I came with just a new mindset. My idea was, let's install more, let's
Yeah.
sell more,
Yeah.
and the same amount of money is going to come into the bank account, but we'll get
Right.
more solar onto the rooftops at the
Rooftop.
same
Yeah.
time. And the job could be easier, because what if, instead of charging every single customer the most that you possibly could,
Right.
and then the customer feeling not really, they're kind of borderline on the value they're getting, because there comes a point in time where you can save them money, but you really haven't changed their life. If you
Right.
take a
Yeah. Absolutely.
$200 power bill that you could take and make a $120 power bill, but
Right.
you only make it a $190 power bill because you're still
That
saving
doesn't
them
make
10,
sense. Yeah.
you know what I
That doesn't make
mean?
sense.
And,
Yeah.
and,
That
and
doesn't
the
make
and the
sense.
customer, but think about it this way, and this is what dawned on me, is that customer is only saving $10. What's the chance that they're going to run celebrating to all of their neighbors and
Right.
friends
Right.
about the $10 they're saving a month? Probably not.
Yes.
However, if I save that customer $80 a month and get their $200 bill down to 120, my job
That's
becomes
enough.
much easier, because they're going to
Enough.
go to their friends and family and say, oh my goodness, look at what solar has done for me. And here's the
Right.
person who did it for me. And it dawned on me that, my goodness, I could take care of my customers. I could do it the right way with the right perspective, trying to take care of everybody. And it's going to make my job easier, send more business my way. And I might just end up with more dollars in my own bank account later
Right.
by
Yeah.
doing it the right way.
Wait.
And so
Absolutely.
once I developed this perspective, the toughest part for me was finding another company or another partner who would take this vision on with me, who would drop
Absolutely.
the
Absolutely.
quick, easy money scheme in their head, who would drop
Yeah.
that and throw it aside and adopt this new thought process, which is I've not met anybody else in the solar industry talking like this.
Right.
Once I could
Absolutely.
find this partner in power who was willing to say, you know what, Matt, that's a great idea. We don't need to change how you're doing it at all. We just want to provide a platform for you so that you can succeed with your vision.
Yeah.
Once I found that in power, then everything changed for me. I was able to put together the systems and the processes that I knew would work for me, and it's starting to make a difference in my customers' lives. And to me, that I wish, and I'm hoping that the industry realizes this, that
Right.
the industry as a
Absolutely.
whole realizes that, you know
Right.
what, there's a reason why in 25 years of mainstream residential solar, only 3% or 4% of homeowners have gone solar. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't realize this.
Yeah.
A lot of people
Yeah.
don't realize
Absolutely.
that in the last 25 years of solar, out of all the millions of homes in America that
Yeah.
qualify for solar, only 3 to 4% of them have actually put solar on their house,
Yeah.
which means
Absolutely.
95% of the
Yeah.
people that we're talking to just say no and don't think solar is a
Yeah.
good idea.
Right.
Maybe it's because we keep trying to make too much money on
Money.
these
Yeah.
deals. Maybe we
Absolutely.
should
Absolutely.
just do better to the customer. Maybe we would have a lot more solar on roofs. And if almost all of your neighbors had solar on the roof, it would be hard to say no to solar. And
Right.
so I just have this vision of getting more solar out there at a better price so that the homeowners start to believe in it.
Right.
And it's not that they would have to believe in something that doesn't exist. It would be very easy to then show the data of what solar does for people,
Just for
and
the
it wouldn't
people. Yeah.
be such a gray area all the time. It wouldn't
Right.
be that conversation of trying to overcome all of the lies that have been established throughout the years from people trying to make too much money on this product.
Absolutely. That's a really immense value. That's immense value so far. I had a lot of podcasts before, but this was the immense value that you provided to me and my viewers as well. Just because a lot of homeowner thinks that the solar is a completely scam, right? I don't know how this particular mindset got into them, but they particularly think that the solar is a scam that won't save anything on my end. And what people do when they reach out to a homeowner and when they sit with them, they start doing the pushy sales tactics, right? That what I understand when they talk to. So they just try to push the solar, just put it on your roof and you will save this, but they don't have any breakdown of numbers, right? They don't know what they're gonna actually save, how much they're gonna make money. They are just showing that, hey, you're gonna save $80, $70 on monthly. But if you just look at the 25 years of time frame, they are saving a lot of thousands of dollars, $100,000, right?
Yeah.
For the next 25 days. So that's a longer period, and that's a huge amount for any homeowner that is saving for that particular amount. And really appreciate that you just mentioned that earlier you were doing door knocking, the ground of sales while selling solar, each and every homeowner you have dealt with so far. So what was the experience doing door to door? What was the biggest, I would say, the objections you were getting when you started and now itself as well?
Yeah. So back in 2001, when you were going
Yeah.
door to door, it was a little bit different because we had not gone into these neighborhoods and flooded them the
Right.
way the solar industry
Right.
did. So that
Right.
was one of the things that the solar industry did is it changed door-to-door sales forever. And what I mean by that is in 2001, you could knock doors and people would open their door and ask you what you were there for. And a
Right.
very
Right.
small percentage of folks
Right.
would have a negative attitude or would have this,
Yeah.
hey, there's no solicitors allowed here attitude.
Right.
Very small amount of folks. Most folks
Yeah.
just wanted to know what you were there for.
Yeah.
But as soon as you mentioned solar,
Solar.
the
Yeah.
the biggest objection you had to overcome then was it's got to be too expensive. I can't
Right.
afford it. There's no way I can afford solar. I can't even afford my current power bill.
Right.
How could I afford this? And in 2001, quite frankly, we did not have the same financing options and the same
Options.
lending
Yeah.
options available for solar. And
Absolutely.
so I had to be a little bit creative back then. And it was all about money and it was all about education. Nobody knew how it worked.
Right.
Everyone thought that if they put solar on their house that they were going to have blackout protection and that if the power went out, they were going to be the ones with power. And that was another thing I had to explain to people. See, back in 2001, in my opinion, I wasn't able to offer real solar. And
Right.
so I was constantly having to fight against people's opinion or ideas of what they thought solar was. And so it was a lot of just trying to educate the community. And the only people who were really adopting solar at that point in time were the people who were really passionate about changing the earth and going
Right.
green. The
Right.
people who are really worried
So
about global warming and some of these
yeah,
things.
Matt, so I guess that the person you're telling that the really looking to go green and save some utility bill at the same time. So I think that the percentage of those people were really low at that time, just because a lot of homeowners didn't focus on that particular part of changing that to a renewable energy, right? So they don't have a lot of knowledge. Advertisement were not there, right? As of now, the people have a lot of visual representation of how solar would look like, right? How this is changing. And if you're installing solar in someone's neighborhood, if they have a contact with the neighbors, they can definitely share some values as well that, hey, I'm saving this much. So at that point of time, I guess you don't have the enough resources to track everything and to educate the people. So how you overcome those particular things that you're facing industry problems, you're facing the homeowner attitude, you're facing the opinions and ideas they have behind the solar. So what exactly you were doing that as you were really new to the solar and at that point of time you have must have did something that did work out for you and can work at this particular time as well for any new solar consultant out there.
Absolutely. So the main thing that I started focusing on was I realized that the companies I had been working for were skimping on the training and that I did not have enough expertise to really be doing what I was doing and to offering what I was offering. So what I did personally is I dove back into my research and my education and my own personal development. And I learned more about the equipment and the engineering part of the industry so that even though I was just doing sales and I did not intend to get up on rooftops and start installing
Right.
this stuff, even though that wasn't my intention, I wanted to have a better idea of how to do this so that both I was putting the right systems on the house for the customers and doing the best I could for the customers,
Right.
but it also broke through that barrier of the customers not understanding the solar and not believing the solar. And what I noticed is when I was first coming into homes talking to people before I had this expertise, the questions they would ask me, I just wasn't answering with the confidence and
Right.
with the
Yeah.
knowledge that the homeowners needed to hear to
Right.
believe in this new technology. And that's what it was back then. It was considered, even though, we had been using solar in space since the
Yeah.
60s and 70s and
Yeah.
80s, solar was
Absolutely.
still kind of a new technology to most people at home. And enough of us had had experience with the kind of camping solar that we
Right.
had grown
Yeah.
up with, this fake solar stuff where,
Right.
if you hold a calculator in the light,
Yeah.
the
Absolutely.
little
Yeah.
solar thing will power it up for
Yeah.
a second,
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
dead. As soon as you take it
Yeah.
out of the light and put a little shade on it, you have no power. And so I
Power. Yeah.
think people were thinking, man, that's what it's going to be. What if the clouds come
Yeah.
over my house? All of
Yeah.
a sudden, my
Absolutely.
house doesn't have power. And
Right. Right.
so once I got the expertise that I needed to really explain how the solar worked to
Yeah.
the homeowners, then at least I was able to break through that barrier of them not understanding that part of it. The next part that had to change was, like you were saying, we didn't have the tools and the
Yeah.
resources that we have today, especially
Absolutely.
with
Yeah.
like software and apps that we use.
Right. Right.
Back in the early 2000s, you had to get very creative with how to do your customer relationship part of the business and
Management.
track
Yeah.
your customers and contact management,
Absolutely.
that sort of deal. So one of the things that I did is I did a bunch of research. I spent like 3 months of one year. I think this was probably back in like 2012 or something like that.
All
I
right.
took 3 months break and I just started doing research into tools or apps and software that the company I was working for at the time could utilize to start keeping track of this stuff. And what I ended up doing is I ran into a couple softwares that some roofing companies, bigger roofing
Okay.
companies, were utilizing to do their customer management. And we started utilizing that. So adopting modern technology, modern software, modern applications,
Yeah.
and really rethinking how much expertise a person needs before they go into the field. These
Field.
were
Yeah.
the things that helped me gain a little bit of success. Because at this point in time, I was recruiting teammates and I was training my own team. And so I definitely adopted my ideas of let's do a lot more training before we go into the field. Let's make sure that if we're going to talk like experts and be offering $50,000 electrical engineering systems,
Right.
let's make sure we understand what we're actually talking about before we go make promises in the home. And that was new to this industry. So a lot of times it was hard for me to recruit guys because they would get a call from the other solar company that
Yeah.
said, "Hey, we only need to
Yeah.
train you Wednesday morning and then you can be out
Right.
selling Wednesday afternoon. You don't have to wait for 3 months." I wanted to put people through a 3-month training program where they're slowly getting experience in the field before they're just sent out to the wolves. And because this was so new, it was tough for me to recruit folks.
Right.
So you kind of have to weed through a lot of the junk out there to finally, you find the
Get the
gold.
best one. Yeah.
And so that's what we're doing these days, is it really is sifting through a lot of bad ideology, a lot of bad habits, and a lot of bad history in this industry. It's a lot of
Right.
sifting through that so that you can find the nuggets that still exist, because there are some old dogs from way
Right.
back in the day, like me,
Yeah.
who
Grinding from
who
zero.
do want,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, and they do want to do this right. So there are
Right.
some of us who have been around forever who want to see it done right finally. But this new generation of folks who are coming up into solar right now, this is an opportunity for the old dogs like me to say, hey, this is what did not work for the last 25 years. Y'all don't want to be doing this for the next 25 years. Let's get on track. And what we need to get on track with is treating the customers right.
Right.
You
Yeah.
just need to, in your own mind, realize what a fair deal is. And I'll be honest, I've had enough experience in the other industries to have a perspective of this. And I'll just give you two of my experiences super quick. Okay.
Sure. Sure.
In
Sure.
2020, when the pandemic hit, my daughter was 1 year old. I had been
Okay.
in solar for almost 20 years, but as I mentioned earlier, I was mostly a door knocker.
Yeah.
So what that means for me is I was getting most of my business through knocking doors. And when that pandemic hit, you might remember, you might not, but no one was answering their door if you came and knocked on their.
Absolutely.
If they
Absolutely.
did,
Yeah.
if they did, they were telling you, "Hey,
Absolutely.
back up 20
Yeah.
feet and put 5 masks on, and then I'll answer the
Yeah.
door." And if you
Absolutely.
could set an appointment, you were not going to come into their house and talk
Right.
solar and sell solar. And that's how solar worked. You knocked on
Yeah.
their door, you set an appointment, you came into the house, sat next to them on the couch, and explained
Absolutely.
solar.
Yeah.
That wasn't
Sitting with the
happening during
homeowner.
the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I got into selling cars for a brief period of time. Now,
Really?
what I noticed when you're selling cars, this was the way you think about numbers in the used car industry. You hope against hope that maybe if you invest $10,000 into a used car,
Yeah.
that you could get 12,000 back. And that would be a 20% margin. That would be a 20%
Right.
profit on the vehicle. And if you can make 20% on a used vehicle, that's considered very, very good. Okay. If you can get 30% on used cars, you're killing it. You're one of the best
Yeah.
used car
Absolutely.
dealerships in
Yeah.
the world. But they're
Yeah.
shooting for somewhere between 10 to 20% on their margin. RVs, if you go sell RVs, it's the same thing. Okay. If you look at the profit margins that most of these industries are shooting for, and let's talk specifically about construction. Let's talk electrical, roofing, plumbing, windows. Let's talk about these home
HVAC. Yeah.
improvements that are in the same category as solar. Those industries, if you go take a deep look into those, how those industries are pricing their products, they're bidding their products at 25% profit margin. That's where most fair bids start in construction. If you need a roof done on your hotel and you contact a roofing company that does commercial roofing, their first bid is going to be somewhere around a 25% profit margin. And they know that that's going to be cut out. They know that they're missing some things in there. So they're hoping that after they do the deal, they might make 20% out of that 25%.
Absolutely.
And that 5% of that was just a cushion. But they know they're going to have to negotiate down. You can't
Right.
ever win a bid with your first bid. So that 25%
Yeah.
profit margin is not what people are making in construction. Most of the time, that 25% is where you start, and then another bid comes in at 20%,
Right.
and then another bid
Then
comes
again,
in at
15.
18%, and you eventually negotiate down to somewhere between 10 to 15%
15.
to
Yeah.
win a deal in construction. That being said, in solar, that is not what I was taught. I was taught that you
Right.
could make 30, 40, 50% commission on deals, no
Big
problem,
numbers. Yeah.
and still save people money. And that's just not a fair margin. It wouldn't be a
Right.
fair margin for selling homes. It's not a fair margin for selling cars. It's not a fair margin for selling guitars. It's not a fair margin for providing a service. I didn't go to college. I don't have
Yeah.
an engineering degree. Why am I trying to make $1 million in a year by selling solar? That's just not
Absolutely.
realistic. And I shouldn't have that mindset unless I can actually lower my price to the point where I am doing so much good in this world that every solar prospect keeps coming to me and I can't stop selling it. And
Yeah.
then I end up with that much money in my bank because people just keep begging me for my solar because I'm the one selling it fairly. And
Exactly.
that's my idea, is not that you can't make money in solar, and that not that you can't even become a millionaire in solar. You just can do it doing it the right way. And if we
Right.
do this the right way, we won't always have to overcome this solar is a scam
Yeah,
objection.
absolutely. Yeah.
People will start to think solar is changing the world. And this is one of the coolest things. Maybe I'll leave you kind of with this as far as where I think the solar industry is today and why I'm happy to
Right.
be in the industry 25 years later. So throughout the 21 or since 2001, I guess it's 23 years. Throughout the 23 years I've been doing solar, I've met hundreds of people who told me that solar is a scam. I don't believe in it. There's no way I'll ever put solar on my house. I don't
Yeah.
care how high PG&E bill or how high my utility bill
Yeah.
gets. I am never going to put solar on my house. It is a complete scam. And,
Right.
everybody who's out there selling solar is just a scam artist. And I've met so many people like that. And one of the people I met is my little daughter's grandpa. My little daughter's grandpa, my father-in-law,
Yeah.
when I first met him, he was one of the people who told me he would never go solar, that solar's a
So like,
scam, and that if he did ever go solar, he was going to build it himself. He was going to do his own research. He was going to order his own panels. He was going to do his own
okay.
installation
Okay.
because solar companies are scam artists and they're only there to rip you off. And do you know 2 months ago, he just got a brand new solar system installed for him. It comes with all the warranty, just like everybody else. And it's because
Right.
his utility bill finally got too high. And after all these years of solar, there's now enough data and statistics online for this
Right.
analytical thinking gentleman to be able to go and do his own research and find out that it's not a scam, that everything that I had been telling him and everyone else in solar had been telling him is true, but only if it's done the right way by the right person. And that is the tricky part with solar, is people who used to hate the idea of solar are starting to adopt it. And that is why I'm excited to be in solar today. But we need to take advantage of this opportunity as people on the inside of the industry and change the way we've been doing it so that we can get a new reputation for ourselves. Because as all of
Absolutely.
these people who never wanted to adopt solar start adopting it now, we have an opportunity to either keep doing things the same old way
Right.
or to change it and make it better forever. And that's what I'm
Absolutely.
hoping we do.
Absolutely. So that's a really good thing, right? That's a really good thing. I really appreciate what you shared right now. Just because in terms of a mindset which homeowner have in their mind regarding solar, you need to change that and keeping if you're just selling 10 installation and you're making a good number of money, and if someone tries to do one installation and make all the money at one time, that would be something different, right? That would be I would say that would be the motive of that sales would be just like selling solar and making good money. That's it. I don't care about the homeowner. I just want to make myself money. So exactly. And as you just mentioned right now, that your father-in-law was just not very fond of solar or really don't want solar in his house, but 2 months ago he just got installed. So, how do you overcome those things that people have? There are different homeowners, just like one of them are looking for the numbers game, and few of them are just really attached to the emotional thing, right? So when do you sell solar? So do you really focus on the analytic parts or the number statistics, or do you also cover the emotional part of the solar as well? Just because every business has their emotional way of selling and the numbers way of selling. So how do you do that?
That's a great question. And I think the key is to, and I understand where that question comes from, right? So
Right.
throughout my career in sales, I've done all kinds of training programs and all kinds of even though I claim to not be a graduate or have bachelor's degree, I actually do have a couple certifications I've earned in sales. By going through the process of earning the certifications, one of the terms you hear all the time is emotional selling.
Correct.
And,
Yeah.
and different type, like you were saying, do you focus on the numbers and the analytical part, or do you focus more on the emotion? I think you have to escape that mindset. I think you have to leave the idea that they're separate. I
Oh,
think you have to start incorporating the idea that maybe those things are one and the same. And so the way I sell solar is a little bit different than most folks. And I'll take you through the benefits that I think are most important for a homeowner. Because yes, I can come in and lower your energy bill, and that's a benefit. Yes, I can come in and raise the value of your home, and that's a benefit. Yes, I can come in and help you have a smaller footprint and less carbon emission on the earth, and that's a benefit. However, the biggest benefit to me with putting solar on your house is gaining back control. And to me, this both involves the numbers and the emotion,
emotion.
because when something's out of your control, anxiety hits you hard. And
Right.
when, for instance, a few years ago, my parents, they were able to earn themselves the ability to buy a bigger home. This home came with a pool. It came with a jacuzzi. It was a nice 2-story home. And one of the things that they did not take into consideration when they were buying this beautiful home is, my goodness, what is the PG&E bill going to be? So what ended up happening is my parents, they were so excited to have all the grandkids coming over and enjoying the pool parties and using the spa during the wintertime and
Yeah.
all this stuff. Problem is they started getting these $700 and $800 bills during the summertime, and especially
Crazy.
during the wintertime when they were keeping the spa heated because they
Yeah.
enjoyed their spa. You know, they had
Right.
worked hard their whole life to get this beautiful home, to have this spa outside, this
Wow. Yeah.
jacuzzi they could use. They wanted to use it. Well, that thing was expensive to keep running. So what ended up happening is, almost every time I talked to my parents, almost every time before they put solar on their house, it was always, man, oh man, we had to pay $800 again to PG&E. I don't know how much longer we can
Yeah.
afford to keep the jacuzzi going. And it's like,
Right.
how come every time I talk to you guys, you're talking about your electric bill? Isn't there something more important in your life than your electric bill? But honestly, that was creating anxiety and stress for
Right.
them. My parents weren't the only ones, okay? So I talk to people in this industry all the time who just, they have no idea how PG&E or how these utility companies are allowed to keep raising their rates as quickly as they're doing so. PG&E raised their rates in 16% in January this year, and then they
Yeah.
raised their
I
rates
about
two
that.
more times since then. So
Yeah.
there's a utility company out here in California that's raised their rates 3 times in the last 4 months. Okay,
That's
that is
crazy.
anxiety provoking. So
Right.
I come in and I say, let me help you with this emotional aspect, and let me give you some security, and let's take control back of this payment that keeps going out of control.
Right.
Let me show you what your payment could be. And in solar, I get to lock in your payment. So if
Right.
I come in and you're paying 250 to PG&E and I can sell you solar for 200, my $200 solar payment's going to stay the same. And
See.
the fact that this payment stays the same for the next 25 years means you get to take control back of your budget. You now know what you can expect to pay for your power next month, whether you use the jacuzzi or not. You can have the
Yeah.
grandkids over, you can do all the things and live your life, and you know what you're going to pay for power next month. This is control. So this is an emotional security I'm giving people. But what am I doing? I'm using the numbers to give them this
Right.
security. I'm
Right.
using the numbers to attack this emotional part of it. And all I'm saying is, folks, do you want to be paying $500 a year 4 or 5 years from now after payments keep going up? Or would you like to just be paying $200 a month still? And you get people into this mindset where they can take control back of their finances by gaining control over this one bill in their life. This one bill that keeps going skyrocket crazy on them, they can take control of that. So I do. I attack the numbers and the emotional at the same exact time. I try not to keep them separate. And I try not to demonize the utility companies like a lot of solar companies do. They come
Right.
in and say, your utility company is, they're horrible for doing what they're doing and blah.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
honestly believe that a lot of the utility companies are just trying to do the best they can. They've got these 120-year-old infrastructures
Yeah.
that they're trying to
Sequence and everything.
use. We've had a tremendous amount of population growth, and our usage of electricity has gone up so much over the last 100 years
Absolutely.
as a
Yeah.
population that how can we expect these companies who built their infrastructure 100 years ago to be able to provide the same level of service 100 years later? No, they have to do upgrades. They constantly have to keep making things better so that they can serve more of us. We are the ones, us consumers are the ones creating this crazy problem with energy usage and energy prices. The thing is we have this amazing thing sitting up in the sky called the sun.
Yeah.
And it gives us enough power to do all of this that we're trying to do in our modern lifestyles. And we can help the utility companies. Rather than demonizing the utility companies and trying to put them out of business so that they're never here again, let's help them do what they're trying to do, which is switch over to green, clean energy. The utility companies themselves know that this is the direction they need to head in.
Right.
They are making efforts to go in this direction. They know it's unstoppable. The utility companies now understand this is an unstoppable direction in the energy industry that we're headed. So they are starting to get on board, and we can help each other. The people in the solar industry, we should be looking at this as how can we help the utility companies to be able to provide safe, clean power to our
Right.
world. And that's where we come from. And that's the hard part in the solar industry right now for people to grasp onto, because most of the solar companies out there, they really make it this black and white thing where if you're going to go solar, it also means you must hate the utility company. And that's just not the way it is. You can partner with the utility company and do them a favor by going solar. You don't have to
Absolutely.
demonize them and hate them, and so these different
So,
perspectives I think,
yeah.
make my process a little different.
So, as you just said that you sell solar, but the emotion part of the thing and the numbers part of the thing at the same time. So people have really clear understanding of what it looks like, and if they can save something, that would be a really beneficial for them as well. So what do you suggest that if as this particular time, if someone is joining solar and want to do sales and want to live their life, a comfortable life. So what would you like to suggest that you have resources, paid ads can work just because Power do run some really good ads, right, to generate leads and appointments. And they are using door-to-door knockers as well, people out there, more affiliate part of the thing you have as well, and how you can implement something that can predictably generate you business, just like more referrals, having partners just like realtors, HVAC company, roofing company. So what's your thoughts are on those particular ideas?
Yeah, so right now with Power, the interesting thing that I am so happy that I've discovered with them is that they really do provide the opportunities to build the team out. If what you want to do is build a team and you don't just want to be a solo act in the solar industry, you do want to have partners. You want to have roofing partners, you want to have real estate partners who can send clients your way, and you want to be able to do the same for them, right? So one thing that I focus on, if you were going to become like a new rep in solar today, if you wanted to get in the solar industry, I would say that it is much easier And things have changed so much. Back in 2001, in order to get business, you really had to go knocking doors, and that was really all that you could really do to earn business. And there weren't a whole lot of roofers or real estate agents or other people who wanted to partner up with you because solar was not mainstream. Nowadays, as long as you have the right platform and tools to offer these big companies, there are many big companies who will want to partner with you and add solar to their repertoire. So as a new rep, one of the things that I do and I focus on when I bring a new guy into the organization is, of course, we first focus on learning everything there is to learn about the industry. But then because of social media and because of so many things that have evolved in our world over the last 20 years, you really are able to just use whatever your current skills are to get
Right.
business. For instance, if you are a songwriter, and
Yeah.
your thing was playing music and writing lyrics, you can actually use that skill today to get solar clients by just getting creative content onto social
Right.
media. There's very
Right.
few people out there posting solar ads using their musical skills to get
Right.
people's attention. And so because of the way social media works, you can actually try to figure out what your strengths are and really
Right.
utilize those strengths to gain success and to gain traction in this industry. And you don't, it's not the same cookie cutter world that it used to be in 2001. And so I would encourage you that you can get out there and there's simple things like social media that you can use and you can actually have fun doing your marketing. Of
Right.
course, there are still people who just, if you are one of those folks who you love being able to just get up, clock in, do your 8 hours, clock out, and structure is everything for you. These folks are super, super successful in the solar industry, but those folks typically are the ones who just go ahead and go out and knock some doors because they need that structure. And in solar, there's enough people out there paying really high electric bills that if
Right.
you just go knock on enough folks' door and ask them if they're ready to hear some free numbers about solar, you're gonna run into business. So it's a very interesting opportunity now because the utility bills are so high that solar can save most people money now. There's enough education and data out there about solar, and it's
Right. Right.
enough
Right.
part of the mainstream conversation that people are adopting solar now. So the new guys coming into this industry don't have such a hard time getting the business. It's more about making sure they're ready to go get that business and not make any mistakes and not make the big mistakes where they're going to lose their credibility. And that's the key is it's really about implementing enough training for folks so that they can do it the right way. Because there are lots of ways to pay for ads. There's lots of ways to in the solar industry to get to pay for leads where you don't have to hardly do any work at all. You just throw a little bit of money out there and you pay for leads. Um, my experience with those types of lead generation companies is that it is a little bit more work for me to have to sift through the clients that are being sent to me rather than
Yeah.
just doing it our own way. So one thing I do recommend to a lot of new reps is try to find some way to reach out yourself before you start doing the paid leads. The paid
Right.
leads are they're a little bit different, and it's something I believe you should have everything in your basket, right? Your tool belt
Right.
should be full, so to speak.
Right.
So I don't think that, paid leads and that sort of marketing is not necessarily a horrible thing. It's just one more tool that should be added to the tool belt. And so what I find is that there are so many tools that can be put in this tool belt that if at any time one of the tools is not sharp enough or it's not
Right.
working today, I have another tool in my tool belt that's ready to work that day. Because there's times when the social media posting and the knocking of the doors is going to get a little bit slow, but your paid
Right.
leads are still providing some business for you. And
Right.
so in solar, I think keeping an open mind as a new rep or as a new
Yeah.
person coming into solar, just keep an open mind to the different ways that you can generate business for yourself. And remember to always close that business with integrity so that you can
Right.
get more referrals because the biggest part of my business is referral. That's where I am the most efficient with my time. That is where I am the most profitable. And that's where I try to focus most of my energy, is how to develop more referrals from people that I already have rapport with. And a lot of the referrals come from folks who have already bought solar from me, but a lot of the referrals I get are just from people who know that I do solar, and they run into other people paying high energy bills. And so they connect us. And this referral part of my business is huge. And so that, I would say, is the main thing. Is in solar, if you actually do it right and you sell with integrity and you make people happy, your job can be much easier. Your job can become less and less talking to people who don't want to talk to you, and more talking to people who do want to talk to you. And
Right.
that's the ultimate key, is we all want to be talking to people who want to talk to us. So the referrals is
Absolutely.
huge.
Yeah, so I had a guy that who sells solar. I think it's California or Florida. I didn't remember. He was from Clean Energy Advocates. So what strategy he was using was, whenever he get the appointments and get the chance to work or do the installation, at the day of the appointment or the day of the closing, what he do is that he closed the deal, then he walks out to the neighbors and just give them their I would say business cards, right? Just throw out the
Yep.
business cards. And after the 90 to 120 day of the installation, once the deal gets installed, once the solar gets installed, what he does is that again he revisit those homeowners that he met 90 days before and just ring some bells and say, hey, look at those solar. I have just did that installation. Would you like to have some more information? And again, he came back with a couple of referrals or a couple of deals from there. So you need to have multiple strategies. The way that you explained really well, that the tool belt thing, which is if anything didn't work out, you should have a backup plan that back up your business. Just because you do have a living, you do have families, you do have friends, you do have wife, children's everyone. So what I understand from this particular thing is that you should use multiple ways of getting business, right? Not a door knocking will help you out, not a referral will help you out, but there's a simple percentage of few things that combine and make it 100%, right? So you could have 30% of the referrals, 30% of the outbound, just like doing paid ads and everything like that, and 30% of doing door knocking. So that combined get you at 90 to 100%, and eventually you can close 4 to 5 deals. That what I completely understand from my
Mhm.
point of view, right? So yeah, Matt, can you just let me know that how many appointments you guys generate every week right now, and how your sales process look like throughout in the power company?
Sure. So my team, we generate typically between 2 to 4 appointments a day for ourselves. And that's partly because of the social media stuff that I have going on, where I'm able to get leads coming in and I can kind of distribute them out to my team. Some of it is through paid ads, and then the rest of it right now, because the weather has gotten so nice, is through door knocking. And so for my guys who are taking it seriously, we're somewhere between 2 to 4 appointments a day. The difference is we're having a little bit lower of a sit rate right now. Back in 2005 or 2010, when you were sitting appointments, it seemed like people had a little bit more of a feeling of an obligation when they sent it up, when they set an appointment with you. Like
Yeah,
people were a little bit more hesitant to set the appointment if they didn't think they were going to be there. It was easier for them to
right,
say no. And
right,
what I'm finding now is that there's just a higher percentage of where you're able to set the appointment, but it's just not sitting. And partly I think it's because of social media. It's a lot easier now for people who have just set an appointment with you
right,
to go on and ask the world about solar real quick. And
right.
if they get a
Yeah,
couple negative responses
yeah,
on solar, of course, they're not going to show up to the
absolutely,
appointment. So the follow-up is a lot more um, it's a much bigger part of the industry right now. So
absolutely.
I use a software. I don't know, am I allowed to mention the brand of software I
Yeah,
use?
sure, 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 definitely.
Okay, so I use a software called Go High Level,
We
which
are
is
using that. Yeah,
it's just a highly customizable CRM software,
absolutely,
contact management
absolutely.
software. Allows me to have all of my email and texting marketing and everything tracked and located in one place for
Right,
me.
right,
And that's what I use. So when I meet a customer, I don't spam them without, I never just start sending information. I always ask for permission. If I'm going to send a text to a customer, say I knock your door and you say, you know what, this isn't the right time. We're not going solar this year, blah, blah, blah. I usually respond with a, hey, you know what? Timing is the biggest part of my job. It's the biggest hurdle I ever have to overcome is timing. Once I show people the information, that's the easy
Right.
part. Sounds like now is not the right time for you. Would it be okay if I just send you maybe a text message or an email once in a while with information, just free information? And then you can do your own research. And when your timing is right, at least you'll have my contact info. Would that be all right? And so I always ask for the permission to send emails, to send text messages, and then I use my software. I use the Go High Level to send these customers as much useful information as I can. And then I'm engaging personally. So I don't try to just use autoresponder texts and emails that are, blindly sent with a template to everybody. I try to engage with my customers. I really try to get to know each customer. I really try to get to know what how their household operates. And I really try to figure out what I can do differently than maybe the other solar companies would to help them. And so I do engage. Not only do they get put into my campaigns where they do get free information from me once in a while, but then I reach out personally and I try to add value. I try not to reach out with the intention of getting a contract signed on every phone call. I typically use each attempt of communication to basically just open any doors that have been closed during the relationship and to figure out what the homeowner is missing from being able to confidently make a decision one way or the other. Sometimes the best I can do is to help a homeowner confidently make the decision that solar is not for them.
Yeah.
So that they can check it off their list for good and not have to worry about it anymore.
Right.
Sometimes that's the best I can do. But typically, if I can, really focus on what the customers need, if I can really focus on what I can do maybe differently than the older solar companies, that's where we're at today. And I think that's what we have to try to focus on right now. And the software is the only way I can stay organized enough to do that. Without those tools, this information gets lost in the.
So basically we do use Go High Level. That's a really customized trackable system, right? I think till date we have all used a lot of other CRMs, but Go High Level is the best so far, just because you can track your sales, you can automate the email newsletter as well if you don't have to put your effort, and you can just track each and every phone number, emails to your track sheet, and you have all the contact details. You can automate the AI system from there, and you can capture all the lead from there if you're generating from paid ads. But I have seen a lot of people, a lot of solar consultant or rep that I have seen that I have given them two options just because we do also generate leads and appointments. So we have given them an option that do you really need appointments, or do you really need an infrastructure that will help you generate more realtor partners, more HVAC, more roofing companies, and same time get you leads, appointments, right? And keep track of all your leads with follow-up system, email newsletter. And as you just said, if someone is not going solar right away, that doesn't mean they will not go for the next 6 months or a year, right? It's an investment. So you need to keep tracking them. But a lot of people opted for appointments rather than going for a complete infrastructure. So what's your opinion on that? Is it just good to have a appointment system that book the appointment, and do they really need to have a complete infra that gets the all benefits that they really want? So I just need your opinion on that.
Yeah, I think that just setting the appointment at first is okay. I don't know. I like the idea of getting people the information. You know what I mean? I like the people. I like the idea of being able to provide the full picture for the customer and not just set the appointment. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like you should have every predictable system, right? So your pipeline gets filled over time, again and again. So you don't have to worry about business coming through. So yeah, Matt, how your sales process look like if you're just interacting with a new fresh lead, right? If you're interacting with a new fresh lead and you have to convince them on Soro, you have to make them understand. And then what exactly the process look like? Whenever someone says, okay, I'm willing to hear something about how you deal with them.
So my closing process is pretty simple as far as helping people understand. I usually try to help people. I come at it from the perspective of solar has become too confusing, and it's much simpler than than this process that most people need to be. So I usually ask the question, "Hey, forget that I have solar written on my shirt.
Yeah,
Imagine I came in as a representative of your current utility company. Let's just say your current utility company is called PG&E. So if I come in and say, hey, you know what, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, you have been such a great customer to us. You've never been late on a bill. You always you pay your power on you pay your bill on time all the time. You never call us complaining. You're such a great customer. What we would like to do for you today is just lock in your current rate. You know how we keep raising our rate on you? You're such a good customer. We would like to give you the good customer benefit of locking in your rate. Would you like to do that, Mr. Customer? If you would say yes to that, if you're the
yeah,
type of person who would like to just lock in your rate forever and not have to change anything to do so, you just
yeah,
want to sign a piece of paper and lock in your rate, then solar
right,
probably makes sense for you because that's as simple as it is. What I'm my programs and my sales process does not include having to charge a bunch of money up front. I don't have to take down payments. I don't have to charge for materials or installation. I can literally just come in and whatever you're currently paying your PG&E or whatever you're currently paying your utility, I'm going to ask you to pay a little bit less and I want to lock it in for you. I want to make sure that never goes up. And so typically I try not to make it any more complicated than that. If customers I'll answer simple questions that they need to have answered to understand how I'm doing this for them.
right.
But for the most part, I try not to let it get too much more complicated because that's as simple as it is. That's the solution I'm trying to offer. Um, that being said, once somebody understands and they adopt that idea and they say, yes, Matt, that makes sense to me. I would like to go ahead and see if I can get a lower rate and lock it in. That would be great.
Right,
At
right,
that
right,
point in time, I just go ahead and show them the different lenders who can do that for them, who they might
right,
qualify for. Once we've landed on the lender that's going to do this for them, then we take the process out of the customer really doesn't have to be involved anymore. The headache is now mine. The project is now mine. I'm going to come out to the house. I'm going to do a quick inspection to make sure that we can actually build what we've sold them. And then I'm constantly contacting the customer as the person who's working with them, even if I've already closed the deal. I'm staying in touch to make sure that they're, and a lot of times I'll show up to the site surveys and the installations
right. Yeah.
personally to
Look
make
at the
sure
problem.
that
Yeah.
things are going smoothly. And I try to have a very, very personal relationship with the customer throughout this process so that when everything's said and done, we're friends. I
True.
know them well, they know me well. And if they have problems, they understand that I probably had no negative intentions and that I want to help them with their problems. So even in the rare cases where I have issues with systems or customers later in the process, the fact that I've been personal with them and that I've got to know them and that they've got to know me helps me resolve issues that come up later and still be able to retain the ability to get referrals from the customers that I have issues with.
Right.
Just this very personal process, constantly reaching out to make sure everything's going well and that there's nothing that I'm missing. That's how we're able to close the business. And then, of course, following up after the deals are installed.
Right.
1 month later, 3 months later, 6 months later, making sure everything is going the way it should be going and checking to see who they've discovered over the last few months who need to go solar also.
Right. So yeah, I personally had a guy I was working with. So what he does is that whenever he close a deal, right, the installation get done. So he just take care of their families, just like whenever the kid's birthday or if they have any anniversary coming in. So what he exactly does is that just to keep it more personalized, he just put out some $20, $50 gifts to them.
Yep.
right? Just to make sure they just put it a gift card, so you can buy this for you. Just send some personalized gifts. So they have a more person-to-person relationship rather than a salesperson to a homeowner relationship, right? Just
Yeah,
like
one of the tools that
yeah,
I use that I didn't mention is incentivized vacations. I use vacation
right,
incentives
yeah.
as well as a way to say thank you. So I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, yesterday I was talking to a power rep and he just mentioned the same similar thing that some baseball tournaments, some basketball tournament, some Disneyland vacations. So these are the free tokens, some good tokens that you can provide to the homeowner that actually add values at the same time and get you more referrals. So you just keeping yourself at the top of their mind, right? That you really need to think about. And once you're on the top of the mind, whenever it comes to refer someone solar, they will definitely reach out to you rather than reaching out to hundred of solar reps reaching out to their door every single month. So yeah, I completely understand that part. So Matt, still now we have talked about the success, we have talked about the strategies, but what were the mistakes that you were doing earlier and that you really want to include in this podcast? So if someone is getting new to this solar industry, can have a better understanding that they do not repeat those mistakes in the longer term.
Yeah, I think I probably mentioned it a couple times now as far as the training goes. I
Yeah.
wish I would have prepared myself more and educated myself more before I
Right.
started really trying to become a consultant. There's a couple different parts of the industry, uh, and I think that I just needed to be aware of where I was within the industry. So when I first got involved with the industry, the job that I had was just to initiate conversations about solar. And that I was well qualified to initiate conversations about solar. What I wasn't qualified to do yet was go through a full consultation and answer all the in-depth like
In-depth
engineering
questions.
questions about solar. So by making sure that I was prepared before I went into the field, that fixed one of the mistakes that I was making because I was out. I didn't even know that I was promising things I couldn't fulfill on because I
Right.
was only communicating to customers what the company was training me to communicate. But I
Yeah.
actually didn't know whether the company I was working for or not was even correct in what they were
Right.
training me because we were too new in the industry. So one mistake is don't fall for the lie that you can go through a 2 to 3 hour training program and be ready to sell solar.
Solar.
Because I do see a lot of ads out there that say, we're hiring solar reps, no experience necessary,
Yeah.
full training
I've
provided,
seen that.
you'll
I've seen that.
and you'll be closing deals within a week. And
Yeah.
I just I want to warn new people who are looking at solar to not fall for that lie. You cannot successfully um, with integrity go through a solar consultation until you've had a little bit more training. Okay. I
Right.
think it takes at least, I would say at least 30 days of talking and learning about solar before you're ready to go into a home by yourself and do a solar consultation. I highly recommend 2 to 3 months of shadowing a mentor before you
Right.
get
Yeah.
into houses by
Yeah.
yourself. I highly recommend 2 to 3 months. Most solar companies are going to laugh at you if you come in and say I want 2 to 3 months to shadow. It doesn't exist. My company's like the only company I know of where you're allowed to come in and just shadow a guy for 2 to 3 months to get it down. But I would strongly suggest that those are the easiest mistakes to make, is thinking that you're ready to get out there and sell solar before you actually know all of the details. One of the other mistakes that I think most reps make, and I certainly made for a lot of years, is I focused way too much on the tax incentive, the federal tax
Right.
incentive involved with
Yeah.
solar. If you're trying to sell solar based off of that tax incentive, and if you think that the way to become successful in solar is to focus on that tax incentive, that is a huge mistake. And I think you're going to find yourself coming up against a block wall all the time. And
Right.
so I think getting it out of your head that the reason people are going to go solar is for this big, huge tax incentive they're going to get from the
Yeah.
government, and
Yeah.
getting it out of your head that you can go through a 2 hour video course and be
Training.
ready to sell
Yeah.
solar. I
Yeah.
think if you can get those out of your head, you'll bypass a couple of those mistakes that I was making early on.
Right, right, right. So yeah, that was great, really great math. So a lot of homeowner have really they don't understand what the solar product look like. So in Power, what are the sort of product that you guys have, and how they will how those particular product will help any homeowner regarding to any shapes, sizes, and the kilowatt production, how that help to the homeowners. So if you can just talk about some products that you have.
So as far as being able to um, become more efficient with the system, is that what you're asking?
Yeah. So what sort of product or what sort of system homeowner should use, and in terms of batteries, different sizes,
I
types.
understand.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So
the
panels.
materials, yeah, because solar companies across the board, we pretty much have access to the same panels, the same
Right,
batteries,
right.
the same
Yeah.
inverters. It's just the way that you put these things on the house and compare them up. So in California and in a few other states right now, the laws have changed with some of the utility companies, and the laws have changed to the point where it is now ideal in California and in a few other places with a few of the utility companies to have a battery on the
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
And
Right.
batteries used to not be a main thing on a solar system. In
Right.
fact, it used to be too expensive to put batteries on a solar system for it to really make sense. And so what ended up happening is in April of 2023, the laws changed in a way which benefits, in my opinion, both the homeowner and the solar industry. However, it was a shockwave that actually put a lot of solar businesses out of business when this law hit. A lot of solar
Right.
companies gave up and went out of business, and the reason why is because they did not realize the value it had for the customer. So like I mentioned, back in 2001, I did not feel like we could offer real solar to a homeowner. And what I mean by that is when a homeowner started getting excited about solar, one of
Yeah.
the questions they almost always ask is, so this is awesome. So when the power goes out, I've got solar panels on my house. I'm going to have power. And I would
Yeah.
always have to say, no, you don't. You don't have a
Hmm.
battery, so you're
Right.
not going to have power at night. Okay, if your
Right.
power goes out during the daytime because you don't have a battery, you're not going to have power. The solar panels can't send this power directly to your house if the grid goes down, because that would mean the solar panels can also send power back to the grid where they're trying to work on it. This is very dangerous. You can't
Right.
send electricity to a grid where they're trying to work on it and fix it.
Right.
So nowadays, especially in California and Florida and a couple other states, the laws changed so the batteries are now a standard part of the system. And what that forced the industry to do, the reason why I think it made the industry better is because it forced us to lower our prices on everything down to the point where even when we add the batteries, it's still affordable. And that's a
Right.
shame to me. The fact that we had enough profit margin room in the solar industry to put a $10,000 product into our systems and not really change our price point that much,
Right.
that's a shame. We should have lowered our prices years ago, but it's better now because now that we have to fit batteries into the system for the
Right.
homeowner,
Right.
we have to give a more fair price. I love
Right.
it. We're finally to the point where we're being forced to do
Right.
this the right way. And
Right.
so in California, that's where I focus most of my time because we're having all kinds of blackouts out here in California. And I know it's happening across the country with the crazy weather and everything that's going on nationwide. But in California, with the fires and everything we've had, our
Yeah.
blackouts out here are crazy. So nowadays, I finally get to offer people real solar. And so, yes, when I'm talking to people, of course, we're going to find out how many kilowatts of solar panels you need on the
Yeah.
roof. You're
Right.
going to go with monocrystalline solar, right? There's two different types of panels out there. There's the polycrystalline solar and there's the monocrystalline solar. You
Right.
need monocrystalline solar. Please do not let anybody talk to you about polycrystalline for your roof. Okay, so as long as you're putting monocrystalline solar panels on your roof, the choice of brand of solar panel, in my opinion, is not as important. The reason why I say that is because one of the main things, one reason why you might go with one panel over another is because this panel is rated to be more efficient than, so maybe panel A is more efficient than panel B. But what ends up happening when you start to look at these percentages of efficiency is you are starting to compare minute numbers. Okay, so like the top of the industry, I think Qcell and REC panels are the two main solar panel brands that people consider to be the top quality. They are the best in the industry,
Okay.
but they are like 0.5% or 1.5% more efficient than the panels that are right below them. So to pay a premium for these top premium brands just for an added 0.5% of efficiency,
Yeah.
in my mind, that's not so important. So nowadays, as long as your panel comes with a 25 to 30-year warranty and they are being created by a company that's been in business and shows a track record of going to stay in business, then you're doing well. Because nowadays, it's not necessarily about the efficiency of the panel as much as the warranty you're getting for that panel and whether or not the warranty will be able to be serviced by that company 15 or 20 years from now if you need that warranty to be serviced. So I focus more on providing products for customers by companies, and these products need to be created by companies that show that they're going to be in business for a while. Because I want to make sure that if my customers need help 10, 15, 20 years from now, that the companies who gave them their warranty are still going to be in business. So in my mind, companies like Qcell, which is a huge company, the way that they're projected and the way that they're positioned in this industry, they're going to be here for a long time. Qcell creates not only panels, but they also create inverters and batteries now. So you can literally buy your battery, your inverter, your panels all from the same company, which is making the efficiency. If you are one of those people thinking in terms of, I want the most efficient system possible. Well, if you want the most efficient systems that are out there, really these ones that are packaged together where the battery, the inverter, and the panels are being made by the same company, that's going to be the most efficient route you can go. But I don't think efficiency is where to focus. Let's focus on the long-term lifespan of these companies because like I say, the quality, the difference between these inverters and batteries and panels in measures of percentages of efficiency are microscopic. So we want to pick the right company. Tesla, I believe, is a great company to go with when it comes to batteries. Okay, Tesla and SolarEdge, I believe, are the two companies where you can safely put those batteries on your systems and just know that your warranties are not going to have any problems in the future. Enphase is another company that I might add to this list of companies that look like they are just projected to be great in the future. And these are inverters and batteries that I'm talking about. And inverters and batteries are very, very important, and they're arguably the most important part of the system because you can install enough panels on a rooftop to provide the power you need. But if you don't have an inverter that's sized correctly for the system, your system's not going to be doing what you need it to do. So it is important to pick an inverter and a battery that is not an off-brand battery or inverter. There are lots of brands coming out there. There's a brand out there. Anyway, I don't know if I should say the name. They're from China. They've been out for like 3 years, and they have like the best batteries in the industry. They've got 18-year warranties. It's the longest warranty I've ever seen offered on a battery. It's 18-year warranty. The battery is supposed to be almost twice as powerful as this Tesla Powerwall 3 that's out there. I mean, these batteries are just amazing if they are what they say they are. The problem is this company's only been in business for 2 or 3 years, and they don't have any data showing this about their batteries yet. This is just a theory right now. So there's a lot of solar companies. And the other thing is these batteries are super cheap. So not only are these batteries from China super cheap, but they're twice as good. So there's a lot of companies out there, and they're putting batteries on homes. People are getting excited about them. I am afraid that this is going to be another one of the horror
Huge
stories of
scam.
the solar
Yeah,
industry where people
huge
go, hey,
scam.
it's just another scam. And so you really have to look into the companies backing the products these days. It's that important in the solar industry. So when you're looking at inverters and batteries, just to summarize, feel very confident and safe if you're looking at an Enphase, a SolarEdge, or a Tesla system. The more components of your solar system that are the same brand, the more efficient your system will be. So if you're getting SolarEdge batteries, get a SolarEdge inverter. Okay. If you're going to use Enphase batteries, you might want to use Enphase inverters. There are some
Similar to
systems
that.
out
Yeah,
and there are some systems out there where you can't mix and match. You are forced to go with the same platform.
right.
But there are some inverters and batteries out there that can be mixed and matched. And I don't necessarily suggest that unless you're forced to for some logistical reason, mixing and matching. Panels, basically there's several panels being made in America these days, but I do not see a tremendous difference between the Q-cell panels that are being made in America and the Q-cell panels that are being made in Korea. They're being made in different places and the quality's not that different. So I don't think having the mindset that you have to have American panels on your roof, I don't
Right.
think that that is something that's mandatory. We offer American panels to give that solution to folks who need it. But I think that there are many great panels out there that are being created by other companies that are not necessarily American companies. And these companies have been in business for a long time. They're going to stay in business for a while. So your options are opened up a little bit more when it comes to solar panels.
Right.
The inverters and batteries, there's really three brands you want to be looking at. Like I said, Enphase, SolarEdge, and Tesla.
That's
But when
love.
it comes to panels, if you're looking at something like Q-Cell or REC, expect the top of the line and expect to pay, premium dollar.
Yeah,
You can
absolutely.
get panels that are rated almost exactly the same for almost half the price. So if you let the consultant who's been in solar for over 20 years
Yeah,
help pick your panels for you, you
right.
might be able to save a couple bucks and still get top of the line quality on your
Right. Right.
roof. So I would
So,
say,
yeah,
consultant you're working with will have an impact on the
yeah,
quality of system you end up with.
right, right. So, Matt, this call will end soon, within a minute. So, can you just share your contact details if someone want to reach out to you? I'm really glad I had a call with you. So, just share your contact information. So, if someone want to reach out to you, they will have a contact. So,
Yeah, I appreciate everybody checking this video out. And if you want to get a free solar quote or any information on the business side of the solar industry, my name is Matt Smith. I am the solar superhero, and you can find me at thesolarsuperhero.com. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter. Type solar superhero in there. Hey folks, this is Matt Smith, the Solar Superhero here. Again, I can be found at thesolarsuperhero.com or at any of the social media sites at The Solar Superhero. Thank you.